How did a struggling sitcom about a small Cincinnati radio station become one of the greatest television comedies ever created? When WKRP in Cincinnati premiered on CBS in September 1978, the network never gave it a stable home. They shuffled it across the schedule, pitted it against dominant competition, and after 4 seasons and just 90 episodes, let it go. Critics praised it. Audiences discovered it in reruns and never let go. One Thanksgiving episode became so legendary it still ranks among the finest half hours in television history. But the untold story of how WKRP defied cancellation and became a cultural landmark begins long before the cameras ever rolled. Inside the real radio stations and real personalities that one man turned into comedy gold. In the late 1970s, the American airwaves were undergoing a quiet revolution. For decades, AM radio had ruled the dial with its tightly scripted top 40 playlists and static heavy signals. But by 1978, FM radio was rapidly seizing dominance, offering high-fidelity stereo sound that became the natural home for music listeners. This shift gave rise to album-oriented rock and progressive formats, where disc jockeys reclaimed the freedom to play longer album tracks instead of corporate-mandated singles. Suddenly, the local radio station wasn't just a utility, it was a cultural battleground where traditional, conservative managers clashed with young, free-spirited DJs who wanted to spin the soundtrack of a changing America. The shift felt particularly raw in Cincinnati, Ohio, a city with a massive broadcasting heritage. Cincinnati was home to WLW, a legendary 50,000-watt powerhouse that had once operated at an astonishing 500,000 watts in the 1930s as America's first truly national station. The city's media footprint was further expanded by Taft Broadcasting, a major conglomerate that owned influential radio stations alongside Cincinnati's WKRC-TV. When television networks looked at the American workplace in 1978, audiences were already accustomed to office-based comedies. But while newsrooms and police precincts offered comfortable, familiar backdrops, the chaotic world of a changing radio station offered something entirely different. A live ticking clock, an ongoing war between commerce and art, and a soundtrack that connected directly to youth culture. This collision of corporate interests and raw creative energy made radio the perfect setting for a television show. In the mid-1970s, a young Miami native named Hugh Wilson was working in the Atlanta advertising market. He had taken a job as an account executive and later a copywriter at 790 WQX1 AM, a powerhouse top 40 rock station known to locals as Quixie in Dixie. It was here, amidst the constant sales pressure and the high-octane energy of AM rock radio, that Wilson observed a striking dual reality. On the air, the station sounded polished, professional, and seamlessly controlled. Behind the scenes, however, it was a volatile world of eccentric personalities, desperate sales pitches, and administrative panic. This distinct contrast between public glamour and private chaos stayed with him. Wilson eventually transitioned from advertising to television, securing an internship at MTM Productions in Los Angeles. Founded by Grant Tinker and Mary Tyler Moore, the studio was renowned for its collaborative writer's room and its focus on character-driven workplace comedies. Wilson honed his craft writing for established series like The Bob Newhart Show and The Tony Randall Show, but he wanted to create something of his own. He returned to his radio days, drafting a pilot centered on a low-budget, high-energy station. The development process required careful navigation of real-world broadcasting rules. Wilson initially chose the call letters WXYZ, only to discover that most 4-letter combinations starting with W were already claimed by actual stations. CBS executives advised him to avoid any real FCC-assigned call signs to prevent legal conflicts. He eventually discovered that WKRP was available. The letters could be pronounced cleanly as a single unit without sounding obscene, though the phonetic spelling quietly winked at the word crap, a fitting moniker for a struggling operation. With the premise established, Wilson and MTM head Grant Tinker pitched the series to CBS. The network was looking to capture the younger demographic that was increasingly drawn to contemporary music, and they saw promise in Wilson's authentic, lived-in workplace concept. CBS greenlit the pilot and scheduled the series for a primetime launch on Monday nights at 8 o'clock. When the show premiered on September 18, 1978, the core conflict of the series' blueprint was immediately clear. The fictional station began as a sleepy, low-rated outlet playing beautiful music elevator tunes, only for a newly hired program director to abruptly swap the format to hard-hitting rock and roll. By anchoring this clash in his own experiences from the Atlanta airwaves, Wilson created a comedy that felt remarkably accurate to real broadcasters, laying the foundation for what would become an enduring television workplace. Gary Sandy signed on to play Andy Travis, the newly hired program director. Sandy brought an earnest, focused energy to the role, serving as the stable core that held the chaotic station together. Next to him stood Howard Hesseman as the daytime DJ, Dr. Johnny Fever. Hesseman had real-world experience spinning records at KMPX, a free-form station in San Francisco in 1967. This background gave his performance instant credibility. He understood the rhythm of a broadcast, the exhaustion of the lifestyle, and the rebellious attitude of a veteran rock DJ. For the receptionist, Jennifer Marlowe, Lonnie Anderson rejected the typical dumb blonde trope of late 70s television. Instead, she played Jennifer as highly intelligent, self-assured, and financially independent. She used her glamorous appearance to control the office, transforming a potential caricature into the smartest person in the building. Tim Reed completed the early on-air lineup as evening DJ Venus Flytrap. Reed, a former stand-up comedian, used his deep, smooth voice to create a cool, late-night persona, famously introducing his shift with the declaration that Venus was on the rise in Cincinnati. His performance broke away from standard network stereotypes, offering a smart, smooth portrayal of an African-American broadcaster. These four actors gave the station its human rhythm. By grounding their eccentricities in professional competence, they established the show's balance between workplace realism and broad comedy. To complete the station's ecosystem, Hugh Wilson needed a sales department that matched the chaos of the broadcast booth. Enter Frank Bonner as Herb Tarlek, the loud, polyester-clad ad manager who became the visual punchline of late 70s commercial excess. During his audition, Bonner demonstrated his commitment to physical comedy by swinging a couch across the room, pinning actor Gordon Jump into the scene. This brash energy set the tone for Herb's relationship with Jump's character, Arthur Big Guy Carlson, the station's affable but clueless general manager. Jump, a veteran character actor, brought an authoritative physical presence that made his total lack of operational control both hilarious and believable. Carlson became the show's ultimate plot engine, a well-meaning executive whose bizarre promotional ideas constantly threatened the station's survival. The newsroom required a different kind of comic precision. Richard Sanders was cast as Les Nessman, the fastidious, highly defensive news director who took his minor local reporting duties with absolute, deadly seriousness. Sanders used a rigid, awkward posture and a distinct, pedantic vocal cadence to turn Les's constant professional paranoia and desire for respect into a source of brilliant physical comedy. To balance the louder personalities in the office, Jan Smithers joined the cast as Bailey Quarters. Smithers, who had first found national fame as a teenage Newsweek cover model, played Bailey with a quiet, observant intelligence. Her understated delivery and earnest ambition provided a necessary contrast to Jennifer Marlowe's worldly glamour, ensuring that the station's female leads felt like distinct, three-dimensional professionals, rather than simple network tropes. Together, these 8 actors formed a highly functional comic machine. The casting succeeded because their contrasting styles interlocked, creating a layered, realistic workplace environment where professional competence and pure absurdity existed side by side. Before any actors stepped onto the stage, the foundation of each episode began in MTM's collaborative writers' room. Here, the creative team worked to transform actual, chaotic radio industry stories into structured half-hour comedy. The scripting workflow followed a strict weekly cycle. A writer first developed a detailed story outline, which then moved to a table read with the cast. These table reads revealed which jokes landed and which ones failed, prompting immediate rewrites. The team constantly refined the material through multiple drafts before issuing the final production draft. Writers and directors functioned as the essential architects of this world. Writer Bill Dial took on the teleplay for what would become the show's most famous holiday episode, translating a wild real-world stunt into structured comedy. Meanwhile, Michael Zinberg worked closely with the team, serving as both a director and an associate producer on key early episodes. Zinberg helped establish the visual and narrative pacing, ensuring that the fast-paced insider jargon of radio felt natural and clear to a mainstream television audience. This systematic development process ensured that every eccentric character behavior was firmly anchored in a tight, logical script structure. On stage 17 of the Radford Studio Center, the written page met the technical constraints of late 1970s television. Production crews rigged a 4-camera videotape setup on a lot originally designed for film, establishing a tight weekly schedule. Each episode was recorded before a live studio audience within a 90-minute window, demanding precise timing from both the crew and the cast. The physical set of the WKRP offices built a convincing workplace, complete with a detailed radio control booth at its center. This environment allowed the actors to perform realistic on-air business, while costumes like Herb Tarleck's garish polyester suits and Johnny Fever's lived-in layers defined their roles instantly. To capture the authenticity of a real station, the crew played actual rock records through the studio monitors during tapings. This music was part of the physical environment, giving the actors a genuine rhythm to work with and bringing the energy of late 70s FM radio into the room. This live-to-tape workflow allowed the production to move from the soundstage to the network broadcast in just 1 week. In October 1978, just weeks after the series premiere, the creative team sought a story that would define the show's comic voice. Hugh Wilson found his inspiration in an old anecdote from his advertising days in Atlanta. While working at WQX1, Wilson had listened to the station's general manager, Jerry Blum, recount a disastrous promotional stunt from his past. Blum had once authorized a holiday promotion where live turkeys were dropped from a helicopter over a crowded shopping center. The planners had assumed the birds would glide gently to the ground, but the stunt ended in immediate failure. Wilson recognized that this real-world mishap was the perfect vehicle for the sitcom's ensemble. He handed the concept to writer Bill Dial to draft the teleplay for the season's Thanksgiving episode. Dial structured the script as a classic slow-burn mystery. He placed the clueless but well-meaning station manager, Arthur Carlson, at the center of the scheme. Eager to prove his worth to both his demanding mother and his skeptical staff, Carlson cooks up a top-secret publicity event, hiding the details from everyone except the ad manager, Herb Tarleck. The narrative worked because it hovered right on the edge of plausibility. In the competitive radio culture of the late 1970s, stations frequently staged wild, dangerous stunts to grab headlines and boost ratings. Because the premise was rooted in these actual industry pressures, the escalating absurdity remained entirely believable. The script carefully builds the suspense, contrasting Carlson's quiet pride with the growing curiosity of the on-air staff. By anchoring the ridiculous stunt in realistic workplace desperation, the episode established the definitive identity of the series. It showed that the program was at its best when exploring the hilarious consequences of corporate hubris. On October 30th, 1978, Turkeys Away aired as the 7th episode of the first season, delivering a masterclass in comic escalation. The climax of the episode takes place during a live remote broadcast from a shopping center parking lot, where news director Les Nessman is sent to cover Arthur Carlson's secret Thanksgiving promotion. Director Michael Zinberg and actor Richard Sanders carefully prepared the scene, studying actual historical newsreels to construct a brilliant parody of the 1937 Hindenburg disaster broadcast. As Nessman reports on the helicopter arriving overhead, his fastidious professionalism quickly dissolves into frantic panic, describing the flightless birds plunging to the earth like sacks of wet cement. To capture the chaos on stage 17, the production crew rigged a mock helicopter prop to release fake turkeys, allowing the cast to react with perfect physical synchronization. In the Radford studio, the live audience responded with genuine, unscripted gasps and laughter, amplifying the dark absurdity of the moment. The performance succeeded because Sanders played the horror with absolute deadly seriousness rather than winking at the camera. But the ultimate payoff occurs back at the station. A shell-shocked Arthur Carlson, played by Gordon Jump, walks back into the lobby, disheveled and covered in feathers. Jump's brilliant, quiet delivery of the final line turned a potentially silly stunt into a classic character study. "As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly." The comedy worked because Carlson was not a cartoon villain, but a well-meaning manager desperately trying to prove his capability to his staff and his demanding mother. The episode earned immediate critical praise and a prestigious Humanitas Prize nomination. Over the years, its reputation only grew, eventually earning the number 40 spot on TV Guide's list of the greatest television episodes of all time. Even as the series struggled with constant scheduling changes and low ratings during its primetime run, this single half-hour established the definitive creative benchmark for the show. It demonstrated that when performance, timing, and deadpan writing aligned, this struggling sitcom could produce television comedy that would easily outlive its original commercial standing. On Stage 17, the scripted pages frequently yielded to spontaneous, off-script choices that defined the show's lived-in texture. Richard Sanders decided on a whim to wear a small adhesive bandage on his nose during the pilot after a minor backstage bump. Recognizing the comedic value of an unexplained recurring injury, he kept applying bandages of various sizes to his face and neck throughout the series, creating a running gag that the scripts never acknowledged. While cast recollections differ on exactly who suggested making it a permanent trait, the choice reflected the creative freedom Hugh Wilson permitted on set. This collaborative atmosphere extended to the wardrobe department, where Frank Bonner actively helped source the most eye-searing polyester suits imaginable for Herb Tarlek, securing pieces that became physical extensions of his character's desperate sales persona. In the newsroom, Jan Smithers played Bailey Quarters with a quiet observation that grounded the louder, more eccentric performances around her. This genuine ensemble rapport, cultivated through long hours of rapid multi-camera tapings, gave the station its warm human center, ensuring that the comedy remained anchored in believable workplace friendships, even when the situations on screen pushed into absolute absurdity. The critical praise and cultural footprint of the Thanksgiving drop did not guarantee survival in the rigid math of late 1970s network television. CBS operated on a strict system where immediate, massive viewership dictated a program's life. Throughout its original run, the series never ranked among the top 25 primetime programs, usually hovering in the mid-30s of the seasonal ratings charts. For CBS executives, this performance made the show an unstable asset. Rather than allowing the comedy to build a loyal audience in a single time slot, the network repeatedly moved the program across its schedule, shifting it to different nights and times. This instability forced the series to compete directly against established dominant programming on rival networks, which routinely fractured its viewership. Every schedule change disrupted audience habits, causing immediate rating dips of 1 or 2 points that further eroded executive support. Even when viewers organized letter-writing campaigns to express their appreciation, this passionate support failed to build long-term confidence within the CBS boardroom. For the network, television was a volume business, and critical acclaim could not offset middling numbers. The constant scheduling shifts eventually took their toll on the production. By the 4th season, the audience share fell below the network's threshold for survival. CBS pulled 2 scheduled episodes from the airwaves in April 1982, bringing the original run to a quiet end. The series was canceled after 4 seasons and 90 episodes, leaving behind a creative triumph that the network's commercial machine simply could not find a permanent home for. The termination of the network run in 1982 did not end the story. In the mid-1980s, the 90 completed episodes entered off-network syndication, appearing on local television stations across the United States. Free from the constant time slot changes that had fractured its primetime audience, the series found a steady, daily home. Viewers who had missed the original weekly broadcasts discovered a workplace comedy that felt remarkably authentic, turning the struggling program into a daily viewing staple. This syndication run sparked a wave of grassroots devotion. Long before modern social media, dedicated viewers used early internet forums like the Usenet group alt.tv.wkrp to organize, exchange episode guides, and preserve the program's memory. This growing fan base took active ownership of the series, shifting the determination of its cultural value away from television networks and directly to the audience. By 1999, this enduring appeal culminated in a celebrated cast reunion at the Paley Center for Media, showing that the show's footprint had only expanded since its cancellation. Critics also began a major re-evaluation of the series, praising its ensemble writing, realistic depiction of broadcasting, and pioneering treatment of rock music. When home video distributors later made the episodes available for physical release, it allowed fans to systematically revisit the station's history. The series grew from an underperforming network property into a permanent television landmark, preserved entirely through the persistent loyalty of its viewers. During its original broadcast, the show featured over 200 distinct rock tracks from artists like the Rolling Stones and Stevie Wonder. This musical authenticity was possible because the network secured standard television broadcast clearances. However, these agreements did not anticipate the future of home video or streaming. Under copyright law, two distinct sets of rights must be cleared to distribute a musical track: synchronization rights, which allow the music to be timed to visual images, and master use rights, which cover the actual recording made by the artist. When the series transitioned to VHS, DVD, and eventually digital streaming platforms, distributors discovered that renegotiating these licenses with dozens of different record labels and publishers was financially impossible. To release the episodes, companies replaced the classic rock tracks with generic, synthesizer-driven stock music that had no connection to the scenes. This alteration fundamentally changed the viewing experience, transforming moments where characters danced or reacted directly to specific lyrics into awkward, quiet scenes. Disgruntled fans criticized these altered editions, which stripped the series of its cultural identity and emotional weight. For those who grew up with the broadcast, the replacement tracks robbed the comedy of its original energy. The resolution came when Shout Factory undertook a systematic licensing campaign, spending years renegotiating agreements with artists and publishers to restore the vast majority of the original music for a complete physical release, proving that preserving the show's legacy required recovering its true sound. Subscribe to our channel for more television history. The actors who brought the staff of WKRP to life pursued diverse paths after the microphones on Stage 17 fell silent. Gary Sandy shifted his focus towards stage and theater productions, occasionally reprising his role as Andy Travis in early 90s television revivals. Howard Hesseman maintained a steady screen presence, headlining the sitcom Head of the Class and appearing in films like Clue before his death on January 29, 2022. Lonnie Anderson continued working in television movies and comedies, including a 1993 return to the WKRP universe before she passed away on August 3, 2025. Her on-screen colleague Tim Reed expanded his career into producing and directing, earning critical acclaim as the creator of Frank's Place and co-starring in the hit series Sister, Sister. Behind the camera, Frank Bonner transitioned into a successful director, helming episodes of Who's the Boss? And Evening Shade before his death on June 16, 2021. He often worked alongside Gordon Jump, who continued his character work on television until his death on September 22, 2003. Meanwhile, Richard Sanders worked steadily as a character actor and screenwriter before choosing retirement, while Jan Smithers elected to step away from the Hollywood spotlight entirely to focus on her private life. Through decades of reruns, reunions, and eventual home media releases, the cast remained bound to the legacy of the fictional station. Their collective work established a standard for ensemble comedy, ensuring that the characters they created would remain a permanent part of broadcasting history. Subscribe to our channel for more television history. The blueprint established on Stage 17 directly shaped the next generation of television comedies. When creator Paul Foster developed the 1990s sitcom News Radio, he cited WKRP as the primary template for workplace comedy in a media environment, capturing the same friction between corporate management and eccentric on-air staff. Years later, The Office developer Greg Daniels pointed to the series as a reliable model for balancing workplace absurdity with earnest character relationships. Even 30 Rock creator Tina Fey referenced the program's self-aware, inside baseball approach to the broadcasting industry as a guide for her own television satire. Media scholars recognize the program as the first American primetime television show to treat rock music as a serious cultural force, rather than a background novelty. Its portrayal of the transition from automated, easy-listening formats to free-form rock captured a genuine turning point in American media. This authentic musical foundation, coupled with the cast's natural chemistry, allowed the comedy to rise above its modest Nielsen ratings. While CBS executives repeatedly shuffled the station across the weekly schedule, viewers in the decades that followed secured its place in television history. This enduring appeal relies on a distinct combination of warm nostalgia and professional craft. The series remains a striking time capsule of late 70s radio culture, yet its sharp writing and character-driven humor continue to attract new generations of fans. By grounding its eccentric personalities in professional competence and believable workplace friendships, the series proved that a struggling, fictional AM station could easily outlive its original broadcast limits, securing its legacy as a permanent landmark of American broadcasting. Today, the modern workplace comedy dominates our screens, but its DNA was forged in the chaotic broadcast booths of WKRP. By championing authenticity and creative rebellion over corporate polish, the series proved that the most dysfunctional families often make the most enduring television. The music may change, but that counterculture spirit remains timeless. If you love this trip down television history, subscribe for more stories behind your favorite classics.